Joined now by Darin Raasch, head coach at the Z M Cougars. Darin, thanks for joining us in high school headquarters.
You bet, no problem.
What we've been talking about lately is how tight the HVL Blue is. What do things look like now, and how do you see things shaking out here the rest of the way?
Well, it could be anybody's guess. Like we were talking about, it could be, for us, if we win out, we could get as high as second, depending on the Lake City and Cannon Falls game. We lose out, we could finish sixth place, depending on how other things shake out. So, and anything in the middle between Lake City, Zumbrota, Mazeppa, Triton, and Goodhue could be the same. So it's a mess, but we'll see what happens at the end. But most of our focus right now is going towards the section.
And with the conference kind of winding down this week, you've got 3 games left. Kind of the one that I look at already is Goodhue. That looks like it's going to be a good matchup. And what I've seen out of Goodhue is the Erie boys. Tell me a little bit about them.
Well, they're excellent. And anytime ZM and Goodhue play, it's cliche, but there's no records. Going into the game, it's going to be a street fight that at the end of the game will be maybe 4 or 5 points separate the winner. And there might be a 20-point spread in between. As far as the Eries goes, they're exceptional basketball players. One, they're brothers, so they know where each other are going to be at all times. And they both bring a multitude of skills to the table that you have to constantly worry about. What makes Goodhue really tough is when the other guys step up. You know what you're going to get every night out of the Eries. When Derek Mack starts to hit threes, when Alan Dickey and Jared Dickey and Brandon Hadler and those guys start to get rebounds and assists, they become a very tough basketball team.
And you guys are a very tough basketball team from what I've seen, too. Tell me about the personnel-wise. It seems like every time we talk or I see the stats, it's the same couple of guys at the top.
Well, we've gotten some very good production out of Brian Hendricks and Cody Lodemeyer and Scott Flotterud. They've been very consistent for us, and they've done very well. They've been largely our leaders on the floor and off, and they've played very well. But again, what's really helped our team, like Goodhue, is when our other guys have stepped up. We'll get games where Devin Hunnicky might get 12 points off the bench. Decker Stars come off for 22 some nights. Ryan Pockert, now our starting point guard, can go off for 7 assists at any time. So, and then Josh Stanton has really settled in nicely to a role. He's averaging 4 assists a game and 5 points a game. So we got a lot of guys finding their roles. And it's making us a much better team. And those 3 that we mentioned are very good basketball players, but to get anywhere in the playoffs, you better be more well-rounded than 3 players.
And I imagine depth kind of makes your life a little easier, your job a little easier. Instead of just maneuvering with 1 or 2 guys, you've got guys that can come off the bench and can really help out. Well,
it makes it easier and more difficult at the same time because we have a multitude of guys that can come off the bench. Justin Cole at any time can come off and be a great defender for us. The trick for me is, and for Coach Liffrig and Coach Cordes, is to figure out who's going to be the player that night. Is it going to be Decker to come off and shoot threes? Is it going to be Devin to come off and make plays? Or is it Justin? Or is it Scott Steger who scored 15 off the bench in Faribault? So it's a nice problem to have. But the trick sometimes is defining what that right puzzle piece is going to be on any given night.
And something we've talked about and a lot of other coaches have talked about in the area is conference play versus section play. Take me through your thoughts again on what's kind of valued or what's important out of those 2.
Well, the conference is kind of, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of bragging rights among the coaches when they go to conference meetings. I don't know. It's nice to have a conference trophy. And you can put something up on the banner, but ultimately, there's a lot going on, a lot of jockeying going on, and our conference doesn't get us too deep in the sections and through subsections and playoffs. It prepares us for the playoffs, but mostly our concern is going to be with our section and where we're going to align. So as much as we're looking out for, Lake City and Goodhue and Triton, we're also keeping our eyes on Dover, Yoda, Byron and Lourdes, because they're in our section and where we're going to fall and how we're going to match up and what's going to happen. If you wait to do that at the end of the season, all of a sudden you find you've got about 5 minutes to prepare for a playoff game. So you kind of need to have your eye on things and do your advanced scouting weeks in advance based on where you think you may end up.
Okay, Coach, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thank you very much.